What's going on, everybody? It's Outtaker here. Today, I'm going to go kind of over a brief overview of the VFL Constitution. This isn't all set in stone or anything like that. This is kind of just a placeholder for owners and the commissioner. They can kind of come back and look at this and decide on rules and all sorts of stuff. There's one article I think that's going to be missing unless we include it into maybe rosters or players' bill of rights, and that's simply the in-game rules for anything of that nature. So, again, the purpose of this video is to just give an overview of kind of what the Constitution's about. That way, I can kind of clear that up. So we'll start with Article 1 here. So Article 1 is pretty much the structure of the VFL. We'll be playing on Madden 22 on the Series X or S version. Pretty much there's a commissioner. Commissioner will assign the deputy commissioner. The commissioner will be assigned and voted in by owners and bogs. Bogs are pretty much VFL PAs. They're essentially in charge of approving trades, monitoring complaints, enforcing rules, updating rosters, assisting players in the league with general questions. There'll be a media director that will be in charge of a media team that will be making articles, videos, interviews, or anything that's deemed as entertainment to attract talent into the league. For the league structure, the VFL will be monitored on 3 platforms. Discord, it will be our way for communicating with the league officials and players. Mostly anything communication-based will be coming through the Discord. The second channel really is our website and stat system. This is where you find media content, where you can sign up, you see rosters and stats. And then the last one's our social media side. The media team will essentially be in control of the social media to, again, attract new talent. This is pretty much the hierarchy here. Basically, the color denotes the level of authority. So CEO of virtual gaming, which would be considered myself, and VP are pretty much the same authority, even though the VP does report to me. The VFL commissioner reports to me as well. However, the VFL commissioner, deputy commissioner will appoint to the actual commissioner. The BOGs and the VFL PA will report to the commissioner, and so will the VFL owners. The VFL GM and the AGM, if applicable, will report to the owners. They have the same type of authority. Same way with the VP of Media and Marketing. This could expand out to a marketing team, but for now I just included the media team director, which then under that's media team, marketing team, and the social media team. That's pretty much for Article 1, pretty basic. It does get a little bit more complex the more we go along through this. So let's go ahead and start with Article 2 here. Article 2 is the judicial process. I think I said that right. So pretty much what this is all about is kind of offenses. What happens if if a rule's broken, how to file complaints, kind of the whole complaint process of things. This is pretty much copied from the old Constitution. I don't think too much has really changed. I'm kind of also just using this as a way to talk about stuff that I've added in here that owners and the commission can decide if they want to keep it or not. Kind of as a way to give some type of, I guess you could say, advice or something of that nature. Let's see. Yeah, there's really not too much that I kind of want to go in through here. Everybody, I recommend you guys read through this. This is some very important stuff. It's pretty straightforward. So again, owners, management, players, you guys are all expected to at least know the basics of the Constitution. And again, the Constitution is just in place to make sure that we run a structured league right. We'll move on to Article 3 here. This is the Player Bill of Rights and Responsibilities. Pretty much just talking about participation, kind of, they have the right to participate, to be treated fairly, to get notified when their schedule is. This kind of goes through the process. 1.4 is going through the process of requesting a trade. Injury claims, if somebody can't play a game for a week, there's retirement, right to appeal. You got players' responsibilities where they have to submit availability and abide by rules, showing up and commitment, and showing sportsmanship. That's pretty much for Article 3 there. So we will go to Article 4, rosters and transactions. This is kind of where you'll see a lot of changes compared to what we ran years ago. The main thing to take away from this is we will be going from the bidding structure to a VFL player draft. This is pretty lengthy, so we'll go through here. The way that I initially suggested is there's 9 players total per VFL team. Let me add that in there. Per VFL team, which is 3 lines. I don't really think that we should do 4 lines at this point. If we get more players than what we anticipate, then we'll just keep adding VFL teams before the player draft and whatnot. I mean, we could go to 4 lines if everything picks up again. It's all voted in by everybody. I mean, if all the owners are fine with what I wrote, then that's kind of just how we'll go with it. Kind of talk about training camp here, eligibility. Again, retirement, kind of the retirement process, some more blacklisting. Section 3 is pretty important to know. For season 1, setting the salary cap to $20 million. The AFL is really not going to be probably a thing this year because I kind of want everybody to feel like they're in the Premier League. Maybe if we grow to 300 plus players, then we may consider an AFL at that point. At this rate, I predict that we will probably have 10 owners at 3 lines, which is 90 people. Right now, we're at 66 signups, I believe, given that the game's only 2 days old. So that's where I see it. And then if you consider a 10% extra for training camp players for people that's going to quit, because we already know people is going to quit if they're not getting their way and stuff. That's just kind of how every league is going to be ran. We're looking at about probably 110 players total that we want, 90 that are actually on a team, and then you got 20 that are free agents that can be used as call-ups when given. Basically, a player's salary cap will be determined by their draft position. So say, for example, I was selected in the 2nd round, my salary cap would be $4 million for the season. And again, this is kind of just a measuring stick for now. This can be changed. There's only 8 rounds since there's going to be a management spot. So there will be only 8 rounds in the draft. What is that? 9, 12, 15 million plus the 3. That's 16.5 million that each team will have accounted for. So each team will have 3.5 million in free cap space that they can use to make trades. So say like somebody wanted to trade for a 3rd round player for a 5th round. They can kind of do that and have some leeway in a way instead of being very strictly enforced with the salary cap. This is kind of going over management selection, about how owners will have to select managers before the draft, that they're contracted for a year. Management's essentially assigned $1 million in cap space, pretty much. The player draft, teams will enter a player draft with each several draft picks that reflect a player's salary, as I mentioned. There may be random assignments. Again, if we have too many people. This is kind of going over just staff as a player restriction. That way, we don't have all the commissioners or all the bogs on one team. That just creates more fairness and unbiased situations. The team picking procedures. I do want to mention that this part's very important too, that when we randomize the team draft, because the team draft will be first, followed by the player draft. The team draft will be randomized. And basically, whoever gets the first pick in the team draft will have the last pick in the player draft, and vice versa. Whoever got the last team pick will have the first pick in the player draft. That seems to be fair. That way, whoever selected the highest, best team, because we probably will predict that the Chiefs will probably be going number one. It kind of sorts the talent out a little bit more that way, in that sense. This kind of is going over player contracts. For now, I put it that when a player is drafted, they have a 1-year contract, but at the end of each season, owners can sign a player for another year, but after 2 years, they have to go back into the draft. I have it in here that VFL teams will have up to 14 contract years to divide amongst players and stuff each year. That way, people are not always going to be signed to a team at all times. That'll spread talent out even more. Section 5 goes over roster transactions, player releases, and the waiver wire. The waiver wire will also, the way that it will start is the last pick of the player draft will get the first, basically, seniority in the waiver wire. And then when they claim a player, they get sent down to the last position on the seniority. And the waiver wire seniority will be resetted basically in weeks 3 and 5, maybe week 1, and it will be sorted by whoever has the worst standings. That way that teams that are trying to be more competitive, they can pick up players without super teams picking up players first. So we have call-ups, ECUs. This section is going over all that with the IR, sending down. When you send down a player to an ECU or releasing, then they go through a waiver wire. This section goes about trades as well, through the process of trading. So that's pretty much rosters and transactions. A little lengthy, so I'd recommend reading that. Article 5 is scheduling procedures. A lot of this has kind of been copied. There'll be 6 weeks at 12 games a week, which would give each player up to 4 games to play. These are the times. Again, these could be changed in the near future. That this was copied from the old Constitution. Posting lines, when these lines need to be posted in the channel, where it'll be posted at. And again, there'll be a channel for this that owners and management can post each week to say, hey, here's who's playing and when they're playing. Substitutions. This part right here is pretty new, the game setup. This is kind of telling you how to get into team play. So, you go through Superstar KO, you select play a friend, select 3v3 and NFL rules, and you'll create a password and share it with the other team. This is going over game times. That way there's not people that is trying to just prolong their game and stuff like that. Connection issues. I will say so far, I've been playing some games in here and connection overall has been pretty smooth. Restarting game and playoff adjustments. So again, pretty straightforward. Article 6 is stat tracking and rewards. So as you guys all know, compared to previous years, Madden has had a post-game pause where users could track stats. However, in this Madden, they don't have that, which has been a huge issue for us. However, everybody still wants to run a league. there is workarounds for it, which is what I'll explain in this article itself. And they may have a patch to add this. I think that they will sometime, because they just today changed the quarter length from 3 minutes to 4 minutes. So I can see them adding that. Then this also tells you how to submit it, again, in the Discord channel. You can access the stats on the website. So section 2 is the stats itself. Here's going to be our plan for a workaround until they add the post-game stats. There's two areas. There's required stats and optional stats. There are 4 required stats when submitting a game in the game scores channel: the overall score, the points for, the points against, and the wins and loss. And the points for will be assigned for the offensive coordinator to determine who's the best offensive coordinator in the rewards for the end of the year. Points against for defensive coordinator, and wins and losses for head coach. Those are the main stats. As long as those 4 stats are tracked, that will be put in the stat system. However, the second option is optional stats. In addition to the required stats, player can submit optional stats to help further their chances on being eligible for more rewards for an outstanding season. And this is kind of what we will be tracking. But the way to track that is during the game, there's say if you throw a pass and you incomplete it or complete it, there's a little ticker on the bottom of the scorecard that will tell you, hey, your quarterback so-and-so, or if you got a certain amount of sacks, it highlights that too. Toward the end of the game, if you screenshot that and you use that as a base to track your stats, that will be put in the stat system. Again, this is optional. That's only if you want to do it. But again, if you don't do it, it's going to hurt your chances of getting other rewards. And we need to have screenshots. We can't do rounding up and all sorts of stuff, because it's just going to create stat padding, and that's highly discouraged in the league. Section 3 kind of goes over the rewards. I'll add the rewards in the Constitution later on in the year. I haven't decided on what they will be yet. So that's pretty much how we will do stats for now until they add the post game. But once they add the post game, this article will pretty much go away, and you just track the stats through the game stats. Article 7's owner responsibilities and stuff of that, and management. This is kind of going over, owners' expectations and management. For example, owners want to set the example of being responsible and being fair, following the rules, and making sure that their team are following the rules, and stuff like that. Make sure that their players have an open door policy and a fun environment. We don't encourage any type of bullying or anything of that nature, and stuff like that. They're the same thing for management. And then player tampering about, padding stats and all sorts of stuff. That's also defined in here as well. And then Article 8, position information and rules. This is a new article that I had to add in here. There's 2 things. There's lobby positions and in-game positions. The lobby positions is when you're in the team play mode, users must select offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or head coach. This will reflect the lobby position that the player basically selected when they signed up for the season. When they sign up, they have until the player draft to change it if they wanted to. But after the player draft, you can't change positions. It's locked in for the season. And everybody has to choose a position. There's no any positions allowed. The offensive coordinator controls the offense as the QB. Points for, as mentioned earlier, are the track stats for this position. Defensive coordinator controls the defense, points against, and head coach is for the wins and losses, and they decide the penalty outcomes. In-game positions. During the game, players must play their position in which the player selected when a player signed up for the season. This cannot be changed during the season. Pretty much, there's basically what it's saying here is there should not be 2 users on either a defensive back, linebacker, or defensive lineman. Same applies to offense with wide receivers and running backs. We all understand switch offs can occur, when the ball's in the air or chasing down a ball carrier after when a run happens or something, that's all normal. But the reason why that we need to have players starting out in their position at the snap of the ball is to ensure that D-line users are getting their stats for D-line if they did the optional stats and vice versa and stuff like that. This ensures quality for stat tracking. And again, there's like an example here on the bottom. Say, for example, I signed up for defensive coordinator and wide receiver D-line. I must select defensive coordinator in the lobby position. And during the beginning of each play, I should be either a wide receiver, tight end, and on defense, I should be like a defensive end or a defensive tackle. So there you guys have it. That's pretty much a brief overview of the Constitution. I thought that maybe sharing this video would help new users or anybody that hasn't read the Constitution from a while back ago kind of explain the process. So be on the lookout that these could change in the near future from owners' votes and stuff like that. So again, this is kind of just a stepping stone for owners and the commissioner to use as a way to change their rules if needed. That way the commissioner doesn't have to fully create a constitution. Because to be honest, I spent all day doing this, and a lot of this stuff was already wrote down, but I had to go in and clean it up and kind of read over everything, making sure that it would apply to today's game and not the game 7 years ago and stuff of that nature. So other than that, guys, that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, just spread the word, get more people in here. I'd like to get the league up and running within a month. And yeah, that's all I got. So have a great day, everybody.